Let's give ourselves a round of applause.
Well, we've been doing this clap for carers thing in the UK where we clap our NHS every Thursday.
Yeah.
And last week I went out and went for a run whilst the thing was going on. And then, so therefore, I'm halfway around the run and people just start coming out and clapping me. And, like, why are you not clapping? That kind of thing. So it wasn't the best idea.
All right, is that how you stay so fit and so, like, good-looking as you're a runner?
I run a day. I run once a day, a mile a day.
What?
It's not much, but, yeah, I run
Do you think that
once
I
every day.
could, because here's my argument I make often, Jack, okay, is that I have very strong legs, right? Because I've always been a large man, you know what I mean? Always, my entire life.
Really?
Oh yeah, I've always been little chubs, and the result.
I was even a large baby. Yeah.
I was a 10-pound some odd ounce baby. I was a huge baby, massive head. I've always just been. I still have I have a Celine Dion-esque head, man. It's gigantic.
An Easter Island head. A 10-pound head.
It is. Yeah. But my argument is that if I lose, I've just lost about 60 pounds, right? I feel like if I lose another 40 to 50 pounds, I'm gonna have a lightness to my frame, but at the same time, I'm gonna have these strong, underwear model-esque legs. You know what I mean? And so I think that I could start running at that point. I feel like I'd have the leg strength, because it's more about the leg strength, right, than it is anything else.
Well, I think there's something you're very, very tall. So if you can, already losing 60 pounds is a huge achievement. Like, that's just a crazy amount of weight to lose. So well done with that already. But is that through diet? Diet alone, is it? Or?
Yeah. And exercise.
That's
I get on the cross trainer at the gym, and this is where my ADD has become a secret, like a superpower for me, right? Because this is what I do, Jack. I get on the cross trainer.
Most people have ADD, actually. I reckon I have.
People, I think most creative people have it. I think that's the. But I put on a YouTube video. I'll put on Netflix and I'll shrink that down in the corner of the iPad while I'm playing a game, while I'm texting and going through Twitter, and like my brain just forgets that it's exercising. You know what I mean? It's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah. You go on autopilot. Yeah.
Yes.
When I run every day, I use it as kind of like a meditation. I used to, use it as a way to just zone out, but I don't kind of truly zone out. Sometimes I think over things, and it's just like that repetitive motion that's just good for your body to, just keep moving forward, and the oxygen in your blood, and it's really good for like clear thinking. And there's something really, Bob Iger, he does it every morning. He wakes up at like 4 a.m. in the morning and sits, goes down to his treadmill and watches the news whilst he which isn't great news for him at the moment, but he sits there and does that whilst on his exercise bike and things like that. So, all the CEOs, all the big CEOs and stuff like that, they all tend to exercise very early on in the morning before they start any sort of day of activity. I exercise at 6 p.m. just before I eat.
That's how I do it, man. I
don't know.
Late afternoon exercise.
I used to do it. Yeah, I'm not somebody who enjoys running early in the morning.
I can't even.
Also, but your body's not warmed up. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
It depends on how aggressively
Are we recording now for the?
We're recording. Just real quick though, your table is a little shaky. The screen is moving. I don't know if it's something that.
Right, I'll stop touching the table. Okay. Right, my feet were on the table, so I'll take them off there and I'll move them to one side.
You said you started recording, right? Yeah, so we'll be recording wherever we started, man. This is the ADD podcast. I don't know where these thoughts are going to take me, man. But you're here to talk about them with me. If you were in Orlando, I can
go off in many different tangents.
If you were in Orlando right now, would you have been at Disney Springs to report it? What's the position you have to take as a media source to cover things? Right. While also though being at that kind of that in between like, oh, you're not like ABC, or you don't need to be there kind of thing.
Yeah, not a real journalist. Yeah,
which is nonsense.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There is an argument to be made that Disney news is, there's much more important things being reported on in this world, and we're all having to tiptoe into waters that we're not experts on. Public health and the science behind a lot of all that sort of stuff. So, receiving information about that from us, as most news networks at the moment, it's a bit dicey finding out some information. I personally am a news hound in many ways. I digest as much news, not just about Disney, but I love reading. I'm big into politics, and so I read about all the election news and everything. But when it comes to the science stuff, I've been really trying to find the good vaccine related, because all the news at the moment is very negative. It's all, we're in this for a long period of time, which we most likely are, and there could be second, third waves. Spanish flu, for instance, it's the second and third wave that killed the most amount of people. And the Spanish flu back in 1920, it killed 50 million people around the world. I'm digressing, like you say. It's the ADD podcast. I'm going off on different tangents here.
It's fine, man.
But
I'm listening.
coming back to your question, Disney Springs. If I was there in Orlando right now, I would have struggled to not go, but also from the standpoint that I wouldn't have. I want to lead by example, so I wouldn't have necessarily wanted to go from that perspective. And I just feel that if you're not going to go there to eat and buy stuff, then what's the point of you turning up? And
that's fair.
I haven't actually thought whether I would go or not.
But you would be going there for an addition. There's a third, eat or drink, or cover the specific thing that that is it's your job, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it is your job.
I know. I feel like Tim Tracker and people like that. He did a fantastic job with what he did. His vlog was very informative. Disney obviously invited him out beforehand to get all that information. I said people like Attractions Magazine and Blog Mickey and people like that, they covered it in a very responsible way. And Attractions Mag did a great job, and Disney Food Blog and people like that. And there was enough people already there that through my coverage of it from the other side of the pond, I still managed to put together a very sound video. I mean, I wrote most of my script for that newscast the night before, because Disney had already released the B-roll of the measures of the stickers and the stuff like that, and they had they'd released other stuff with the Tim Tracker video. So I already knew roughly what we were going to be looking at from the Disney Springs opening. So if I was in Orlando, I probably wouldn't have gone to Disney Springs, if I'm being honest. But I do understand the reason why some people did go. Because you need to be on the ground.
Do you think that it's a bad thing, though, for people like us who are public-facing people who people look to and people understand, that there's that kind of understanding of, I need to, for example, my reasoning would be, I want to go within the first month or two of the park opening to be like, look, and show a person who's responsible, who can understand the ideas of social distancing, why we're social distancing, and that the mask is to just help. It's until we understand, until we grasp. And I think
like I said a lot. Yeah, the mask thing is one thing which I really tried to address in my video on Disney Springs, and the video hasn't done well. My views are down at the moment. I think it's a difficult time at the moment in terms of views on YouTube. I've heard from a lot of creators that their views are down and stuff, unless you want to lean more into the coronavirus coverage. And I made a very early decision in this pandemic that I was like, I don't want to become COVID-19 newscast. I just felt it made me down and depressed writing about it, and I want to give some people some entertainment instead. But the mask idea, people have got it wrong. It's not about wearing it to prevent you from catching coronavirus. It's about you containing your asymptomatic, germs. You may have it, never know about it. It won't affect you, but it will kill the next person. And it's that social distancing idea, the match burning out, and people just keep forgetting. If I told people that the mask would save them, everybody would wear them. And the reason for that is because personal from the selfish reason of if it helps me,
Yep.
I will do it. But if it's a collective shield, then what's the point? And it only takes one person to break that collective shield. It's a chain. So yeah, the containment argument, it's very difficult to get across. And it's not a pleasant thing to wear a mask out in public. It's hot, it's sweaty. I've tried to suggest measures for how it could be more amenable to people when they're out in public. Like in the parks, for instance, if they had a designated relief area where you could go and just take the mask off for a bit, one in each land, like the smoking areas, that kind of thing.
I think they're doing that, aren't they? They're
not. They're saying at Disney Springs you can only take your mask off if you're eating or drinking, and that's led to people, using the excuse of I've got myself a Starbucks or whatever, and now I'm walking around Disney Springs and I'm sipping every 20 seconds, and you're still walking around spreading, and it defeats the purpose of the whole social distancing, the mask and the shield idea. I just don't think it's been very well handled in Disney Springs. I really wanted Disney to implement clearer signage than what we saw in Shanghai Disneyland, and I'm not going to rehash my whole video on it. It's out there for people to go watch and listen to my thoughts on it. But yeah, it's a difficult one. But
yeah, it's just so odd how you see parks, how you see everyone. It's so interesting to see how everyone collectively responds to this. That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting that if we were just more attentive as a group and did things like wash our hands and not touch our face and all that kind of stuff, masks wouldn't be so much of a problem. But because we can't be responsible with one thing, we have to take another measure, and then we can't be responsible with that measure, and so now we have to take another measure. You know what I mean? And it's just like.
It's also early on in the whole news coverage. We were told that masks are useless, right? And that point was hammered home so hard by every news source. Don't wear a mask, they're useless. Don't use up the PPE we need it for the hospitals, we got PPE shortage. So therefore, this point was the one point that sunk in, because it's one of the first things that people heard when they heard coronavirus.
You don't need a mask, just wash your hands. Wash your hands. It was wash your hands, wash your hands.
People still think that the mask wearing is about protecting them, and it's about protecting others, and others from you having the symptoms.
Maybe this was just a double blind for the stubborn hand washers. So it's like, all right, we'll give them a reason to suddenly want to wash their hands to prove a point.
Yeah. No, I actually, years ago, before all of it, before DSNY Newscast and the app and all that sort of stuff, I came out of university and I had this idea for what I called the footle, and it was the foot handle. Okay, so bear with me here. Okay, I was at university one day and I was in the library, getting some last minute revision before an exam must have been, and I saw this guy walk straight out the cubicle, straight out of the stall, as you'd say in America, and he went straight to the door, didn't wash his hands, and I was like, I basically wiped his ass, because I'm going to wash my hands, and how am I going to touch this door handle?
Absolutely.
And it annoyed me, and so what I did was I came back and I kind of did the old karate move.
Yeah, man. Use those runner legs.
My old my Bruce Lee kung fu karate move, whatever it is, and I opened up the door as I do, like a weirdo. But I did that, and then I came back and I was like, why is there not a way to open up the door from the bottom with your foot? But you're not going to eat with your shoe, obviously. So it makes sense. And right now, that would actually serve a purpose in a great way. And I tried to sell this idea, and I then got onto apps, and I only did that for around 2 or 3 months, and then I moved on to apps, and I had mixed success, which led to DSNY Digest and DSNY Newscast. But I failed many times before I eventually did okay with this YouTube channel. But
you gotta fail. Yeah, no, you gotta fail a lot, man. Walt says you have to fail hard before you're 25 to be a humble, successful human. Yeah. And I believe in that.
I appreciate what I've got so much because of it. Yeah. And that's the reason why when the views go down, you kind of are left with that idea of, is it failing? But then again, you've got to have faith that what you're doing is correct.
It's just training for the next thing, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. Yeah. It's like every time I do a video that's not successful, I can then look at that video and be like, I could watch it again through the eyes of its failure and like suddenly understand, oh, that's what, because I was only looking at it through the eyes of it being my baby, my precious baby. You know what I mean? And then it failed.
I see what I mean, yeah.
And then I could turn around and be like, oh, so you were my precious baby, but you were ugly and I couldn't see it because I loved you too much. But now someone's given me a shot, and now I can see how ugly you are, baby.
You talking about your thumbnails? Your early thumbnails.
Hey, I don't know. What are you gonna do? You've always had. Okay,
I look back at a lot of what I did and
talk to me about your design sense, because that's something that I've always loved about you and the stuff you do, and that like really sharp. Where do you think that came from? What is it?
Well, okay, so when I was very young, I taught myself Photoshop at the age of like 14, and
there it is.
Became a whiz at that. But then there's many people who know how to use Photoshop, but I always think that you've either got a design eye or you haven't. You can't teach it. It's like creativity. You can't teach creativity. You're either statistically inclined or mathematically inclined or artistically inclined. And there's those geniuses out there who are working on these vaccines and coders and all sorts. They are statistically minded. I'm not that way. I'm artistically minded. The design perspective, it's just something that I worked on over time. But I also went to university for branding, marketing, advertising, business and branding. And I did my whole final year thesis or dissertation, as we call it, on brand face and the Walt Disney Company and Apple and all that sort of stuff. So it's something which I've always cared an awful lot about. You've got to get the brand right from the get-go. There's only one chance to make a first impression. That statement's so true. Yeah. And if you don't deliver on what you're promising, then your word is nothing, basically. Right. It's very difficult to get that chance again. And I admit I made some mistakes in my early days. YouTube, I didn't have a very good setup. It evolved very quickly over the course of one visit to IKEA and over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's something. I didn't launch the channel until I got all my graphics ready and everything like that. I spent a month working on that before I even did the first video, because I was like, I don't want to go out the gate looking unprofessional. Yeah, no, that's what always caught my eye, actually, when I first started watching your stuff, was just the couch with the color coordinated pillows. You know what I mean? You had this, and then OCD. But then it layered. I mean, I've taken this now in my life to my friends who now ask me for my help. One of the things that you kind of taught me was that the story has to start wherever they see it first, and then that story has to then expand out to the other things. Yeah. So if they were to catch the hover over of it auto playing, right, of you being there, and then they were the bounce off of that, and the thumbnail pops up, boom, the thumbnail matches you sitting there at the couch, and it tells that story, and then your icon matches your set, and it just, your story branch, it's covered everywhere. You know what I mean? And I love that. I really respect that. That's a brilliant way of putting it. Now, I actually couldn't have put it better. I was going to stumble my way through this, but you actually nailed it. It's the story, and like you say, it's expanding upon that idea.
That was me coughing, not dabbing. I just want to clarify that to the younger audience. I didn't just take that as a success. It was just I just had to cough.
You are feeling okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Just wanted to double check. I'm pretty sure you can't catch it. There's 4,000 miles between us.
I just cut the grass, man. I'm all polleny in my face. Your storytelling. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So the logo itself, the pink and blue, it's very simple. It's representing of all genders. It's not just male, female. Disney is for everybody. And then obviously the news and the hand and the Mickey hand. It's I'm not using a Disney icon. That's a generic cartoon hand, which Bugs Bunny has those gloves and everyone has. And it's just some very simple branding behind it, but it was and then the DSNY name is that a way to get around the Disney, using the word Disney.
Yeah, it was one of the. Yeah, but you have one of the best. You easily have one of the best names of any of the channels.
The reason why I picked the DSNY one is because the app actually started back in 2014. And I was working on this app called the Beehive, and it was my app, and it was a social media filter. So at the time, the problem with Twitter and Facebook and everything was that you had 1,200 friends on each platform and everything, and there was no algorithm to like properly work it out. So therefore, it was just like, and Twitter wasn't algorithmic back then. It was just a stream of everything. And you missed stuff. And my app, basically, you could pick 6 people from each network, and then you would only get their updates, and you'd also get notifications, and there was a widget for it. And it's a way to like know their activity and know what they're doing, so therefore you never miss out on what they're doing, never miss an update. So I did that, and it didn't do very well. It just never caught on. I only got like 7,000 downloads, but like it was a steep learning curve. I learned how to build an app properly, graphically, user interface design, and I was halfway through this whole thing, and like I got a bit bored, halfway through, and my brother just said, "Why don't you do a Disney News app?" Because I've been mentioning how there's no good Disney News app out there. He's like, "Why don't you do it?" So I went off and like created this RSS kind of reader for Disney News, and I submitted it to the App Store under the name Disney Digest, and it was rejected by Apple because it was using the name Disney.
Oh, yeah.
And so I resubmitted it around 8 months later or 6 months later under the name DSNY, remove the vowels, and it was accepted. But yeah, so I was always very wary of using the name Disney, just in case, I didn't know how big my channel was going to get. I didn't know if it got to million or whatever, I'd have an issue with Disney, and they would say rebrand, and then I'd be like, oh damn, I've now got to rebrand. And that's one of the worst things to do when you're big, is having to rebrand, because then people are like, who's this person in my inbox, or my subscription box? That's kind of and I do want to rebrand. I do want to remove the newscast element of the name. I want to, this is actually a first, I've actually said it anywhere, but DSNY Network is kind of the name I want to rebrand to.
Yeah, I mean, like, if I'm honest, like, when I think of you, I don't think of Newscast. I just think of you as DSNY, right? That's just like, even when I type in, the only reason when I at you on Twitter and type in Newscast is because it autofills for me, because otherwise I wouldn't. I would just be adding you at DSNY.
If you type in D, you'll get everyone's Disney names. I know what you mean. Yeah, or Defunct Land or whatever, but no, I get that, and I want to rebrand to DSNY Network, because then I can expand. Because one thing that this whole pandemic thing has taught me the most is that, the news is going to dry up. I always knew that the news was going to dry up over the next year, because as Galaxy's Edge wrapped up and Marvel was starting to wrap up, and now the pandemic's come along and punched, the budget in the solar plexus, basically, of the parks. I just see it as, well, we're not going to have very exciting new announcements to talk about for quite a while. I'm going to have to pivot the news, maybe do a news video, do an op-ed, do a news video, do an op-ed instead. And is the newscast name as relevant for op-eds? So I'm working on rebranding it, but keeping the DSNY something with an N, so it looks like network or newscast. It doesn't look that different, and hopefully people will accept it.
Yeah, I think I think so. I think you could just go straight DSNY and people would be like, I think that whatever's underneath DSNY is just like
the problem with DSNY is that I didn't realise, but early on, it was like a month or two afterwards, I was like, people were tagging me, and I got tagged in like a trash photo, like a rubbish truck came up, and they're like, oh, why are you not taking my trash out? And I realised that DSNY is actually the Department of Sanitation, New York City. So my channel has always been trash right from the get-go.
Why do you not have some merch that looks like the garbage company? That is you need to have a garbage company shirt, man. You need to do it.
It's the Department of Sanitation. And so I don't know. Like I say, it's always been trash right from the get-go. So
well, that's what you should call. You should do that, when you do any kind of like bad news or like trashy news. If you need to do any TMZ stuff, you could just roll out your Department of Sanitation.
Harvey from TMZ.
That's really incredible. That's so funny. Do you think
So
that?
I didn't realize.
I don't know if you saw me on Twitter today, but do you think that there should be a moment in the parks where characters wear the masks?
The face masks for characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Go on. I cut you off. Sorry. So people know what we're talking about.
So people are going to be in the parks, right? This is the Galaxy's Edge argument about face masks, right? You know what I mean? Is that
the divisive issue? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Is that it's just that like the land is allowed to exist in a certain way, but the people inside it, while are supposed to be immersive, are have to be contained and not wear Jedi robes, right? So now you're doing the reverse Jedi robes with the masks to say that everyone in the park is going to be wearing masks, but yet we are going to pretend like the rest of it isn't remotely affected by that. And I call shenanigans. They put different clothes on them when it's cold outside. They have to normalize it for the kids. If anything, just for the kids, because
you see what they're doing with Disney Springs. They've got the children's activity team going around doing fun ways of like social distancing, doing dances,
really? I love that.
Stay away, I like that. That's a real Disney thing to do. I'm going to give you a stupid answer, then I'll give you a real answer. I think the only character who should wear a face mask is Rapunzel.
Okay, why?
Because she already has to deal with the Kingdom of Corona. So,
How long have you been sitting on that, Jack? How long have you been waiting? How long have you been waiting for the moment to tell that joke?
I wanted to make that joke around a week into the whole pandemic. I was like, she's in some trouble right now because she's been ready for all her life, but she's been quarantining.
Okay, now give me your real answer.
But no, the real answer is I personally think that there serves a purpose actually having the face. I don't think all character opportunities should be face masks because you got the uproar of people are already going to say my Walt Disney World vacation is ruined because I have to wear a face mask. Okay, which is a valid point. They spend thousands and thousands of dollars on this vacation. It's ruined from that standpoint. But those who actually do go through with their vacation, should they also have their moment of seeing the characters only their eyes? Should that also be ruined? I see what you mean with the timeline, not the timeline, the story of the whole thing of is this immersive? Is the pandemic happening in their world as well? But when people go to Disney, it's about escapism. So do they want to be reminded that they're having to wear a face mask by seeing a character wear a face mask? It's a difficult one. I feel like some maybe have like Mickey and Minnie wear the face mask at one of the meet and greets at the front of the park, or maybe even the castle show right at the very beginning. Maybe even have those characters only come out with a face mask on and serve it as like a public service announcement at the beginning of the day. Hey, folks, we're all wearing masks because we're social distancing and we're going to keep healthy.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
I love that idea. Actually, I would say let's do that 8 times a day. Like every like 2 hours, let's have like a social. It could be different characters, and like let's just have a rotating stage show.
The reason why
exactly, and those those costume characters are wearing masks though. Like that's part of it.
Yes.
Like it's
that could be
there. You go,
could
Jack.
Be a good idea. But then the other thing, and Hollywood studios, you can have the streetmosphere actors, do the same kind of thing. But the thing is, I do feel that you can't deprive people of that character meet and greet, because for many people, it will be a once-in-a-lifetime holiday, if not, because...
Well, they're saying that
we're not all,
while masks are engaged, meet and greets are not. Like, there will be no meet and greets. I don't know how long they're going to be able to hold out on that, to be entirely honest with you.
The way they've done it in Shanghai is they're doing what they call a cavalcade, or, their very quick train going through it, and it's like an impromptu... They're not announcing the times when the characters are going to appear on this train to go through a part, but they've actually found and I think it's TDR Explorer, Chris at TDR Explorer, he did a video on it, and he's like, when the train comes out in Shanghai, it pulls in this mad rush of like people going, the characters, and like running on over them, social distancing goes out the window. So in many ways I almost feel like if you're going to do any type of parade to show the characters, it's better to tell people when it's going to happen to stop that mad stampede towards the characters. They've made a lot of mistakes in Shanghai, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree with that. I think that the maximum capacity of the parks should be that at which everyone can sit 6 feet apart on the curb for the entire parade route. However, whatever that number is, that's all they're
But to be honest, that would be a much better parade experience, in my opinion.
Absolutely, that's why I'm saying it. I'm going to be right there for it.
You know what? We went to the Halloween party last year, and we went to the Christmas one, and both of those parades, I'd seen the Halloween one from Main Street before, and it's just mental on Main Street. But I went and watched it from Frontierland near. Just nearby the Country Bears, and not that many people there, and you kind of like nicely spaced out, and you weren't, I think you're actually at the beginning of the parade route there, but you're nicely spaced out, and it was more enjoyable not having to like.
It's the same in Main Street. It's the same in Main Street over by the barn, like over by the.
Oh
yeah. Like the two. It's because everyone gathers in the middle because they see the parade happening, but they don't.
The exit,
They don't get to either ends of the parade because by that point it's like, Main Street's all cut off. But I don't know. What's fascinating to me is that the notion of people are like the idea that theme parks were clean in the first place. Right, like the idea of
I get that.
the idea of there's I go to theme parks and assume there's just poop on everything because there is, guys. There is. Yeah. I mean, there's poop all over everything, right? So that just
on
with
your
that
phones,
mind,
everything, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with that in mind, like I don't. That's the thing that gets me, and so I'm like, wait a minute, you mean wearing a mask might actually make sure that because I always get a little something when I come back. You know what I mean? But when I'm back from a trip. Although I have 2 young kids, so my immune system's like, rocking and socking. But, but I mean, like the theme parks are disgusting. They're gross.
Yeah, no, they are. And Shanghai already had an issue with cleanliness to begin with, but also like all theme parks do, like you say. But I went to Disneyland Paris in February, and it was, coronavirus. I don't know how present it was in people's minds in the United States at that point, but certainly in mine and my girlfriend's mind already going around Disneyland Paris, it was very aware. We saw people wearing face masks, and we knew about it. We went on a ski trip. We met up in London. We went around London, went around the Natural History Museum in London. I was actually spotted by somebody. I didn't think I'd ever get spotted outside of a Disney park.
Really?
I thought I'm only ever noticeable by people who are Disney fans inside a Disney park, perhaps sometimes. I can still go incognito if I keep my mouth shut. But somebody spotted me on a bus, and I was like, oh, that's weird.
That's incredible.
But when we went skiing, and then we went to Munich, and then we went on to Disneyland Paris, and we were very aware of it, and we were using hand sanitizer all the time. We weren't touching our face. We made sure we washed our hands properly for 20 seconds before we ate. And it's crazy to think that this virus has actually been spreading much earlier than what China has reported. Anecdotally, there was a French athlete who went to Wuhan to do some sort of athletic performance or whatever, and she came back and she contracted pneumonia. She showed symptoms of pneumonia in October. And the French government have gone back through samples of pneumonia back in October, and she actually tested positive. Her sample of pneumonia tested positive for coronavirus. So this thing has been spreading longer than what.
Right.
Maybe it was only in Wuhan, but it was spreading and has been carried around the world a little bit, because obviously not many people went to exactly Wuhan, and so it's been around for a lot longer, and so we could have very easily caught it in February, but we didn't. I actually have ordered an antibody test today, because we've now got them available in
For
our
those
country
of
to
you
order.
out there who listen to this and want to know, a really great way to find out is go donate blood. Just go donate blood.
Or do that. Yeah, they have to do that as well. Yeah.
And then like most places, if you sign up for their like account, because every place that blood donations in America, they track how much you donate, and then they like give you a cake or like a T-shirt or something after a couple gallons, which is a feat, folks. It takes a while to get to a gallon of blood. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you can go in and you get your cholesterol and all kinds of stuff. They test the blood for you.
But they'll only test you whether you've got it. I think that the only test they're running is the coronavirus test to find out whether you've got it. What I ordered today is the antigen test, the working out whether you've got antibodies within your blood cells already.
Right.
You've actually had it been asymptomatic or whatever. I was very ill with a lot of the symptoms of coronavirus in November last year. I had a very, very bad dry cough. I had a fever, I had aches and pains, and it went on for around 2 weeks, and it was really bad. And I basically quarantined myself because I didn't feel up to going out and about, really. And that was in November of last year, and I don't think I probably did have it, but, I don't want that again, and I just want to know whether I've actually built up any immunity, whether I've been asymptomatic or not. So it's great that the one thing which I feel is being really missed from the conversation about testing at the moment with the coronavirus, to branch away from Disney a little bit, is there's not enough innovation in testing. Everyone goes on about, we don't have enough testing. Yes, that's great, but we need to increase the frequency, but we also need to enhance the tests themselves. If a test could be made where it's a 1-minute test to find out whether you've got coronavirus, okay? And Disney did that at the beginning when you checked in, into your resort, and you were given an immunity pass. You're not allowed to leave property, but you're allowed to go to the parks, and everyone in the parks are going to be okay with it as well. I feel that, only the cast members would then have to wear masks, and you wouldn't have as many complaints. There are other ways around it, but like people aren't talking about certain things, certain solutions.
I think that the solution. I've been thinking about this a lot too. I think the solution is more so testing, but on the back end, because you're not going to be able to test all the locals all the time. No. All that kind of stuff. So it's more so about, if we're going to go down there, let's go down there responsibly and keep the people outside of us safe if we're going to expose ourselves. And so that to me says, like, give everyone a test before they board the magic bus, you know what I mean? So that they can get like a text while they're on the plane before they even board, maybe, right? To see if they are tested positive or not.
Well, I feel like airports should be doing the testing. Airports should definitely be doing a test.
Yeah, but they won't. So I'm mostly talking about talking about what Disney could control. You know what I mean? Like what Disney can do. Yeah. And then when you get home, at home waiting for you is something like this antibody test or something that you can then take and send off and get back, and then you maybe do like a mini quarantine after you get back from the parks until you get your results. You know what I mean? And then if you're clear, you're clear.
Well, the thing is, like, we're in the UK today, we've brought in a policy of apparently every new arrival arriving in the country has to quarantine for 2 weeks, and the travel industry have rightly said, this is going to destroy travel, because if you have to go on holiday and you return and you have to take a 2-week extra holiday, you won't be able to get that time off from your employer. Right. But the second point is, who's going to come to this country? You have to spend at least 3 weeks here to make it worthwhile, and the first 2 weeks you've got to be quarantined. It's not. So that's usually why I'm like, testing at the airports makes more sense. And it should be run by the government. The government should be paying for these tests at the airports.
I think what you'll soon find is a service. Is a service that when you get off the plane, they pick you up and test you and drop you off somewhere, and then maybe it's like a 2-day quarantine, and then you get results, and then you're clered, and they give you a ticket, and then you can go to tourist destinations. Sense, that kind of stuff. I don't know. Because it answers the people who still need to travel. You know what I mean? Like everyone who's saying like masks are going to ruin my vacation. If you say that to Disney, they will let you reschedule it. Period. Yeah. I mean, period. They will. Yeah, and then do something else with your time.
They want to keep the money.
Yeah. But I mean,
reschedule it. It's always better to reschedule for later on and keep the money.
Just don't go. If it's. I mean, that's just my Am I wrong? Like, don't. If it's that big of a deal, just don't go.
But also, I just feel, don't get mad at Disney about it, because Disney could not force. This is basically a force of nature. It's like a natural disaster in many ways. You know, Disney could not foresee a pandemic coming, and yes, it's a bummer that I so want to be in America right now with my girlfriend, but we've been apart now for 2.5, nearly 3 months already. And we're probably gonna be apart for another 2 months before I can even get back there. I reckon it'll be all the way through June, and if not July, before I get back there. If they lift their travel ban, but like it just annoys me that people are complaining about the cancelling of the holiday. I know that. I don't think there's a lot, actually, of complaints about cancelling their vacations. I think a lot of people understand, and like you say, Disney being very good about it,
yeah, I think you're getting a lot of people who are vocal that are never going to even, it's not even going to be a thing for them. Yeah. It's not even you know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to yell about... Yeah, it's not even related.
That's what I mean.
You know, yeah, exactly.
I've seen from my comments that a lot of people, the majority, I would say, an 85% of people, if not higher, 90% of people are reasonable, logical, and like, it really sucks. I don't want to go when the mask policy is in, so I just won't go. I don't blame Disney, and they don't blame Disney. You know, it's something that they have to do. You know, what would you expect Disney? I personally feel that Universal's opening up way too soon. That's for a whole different thing, and the temperature checks are nonsense. I mean, we know this thing spreads through asymptomatic carriers. Why are we giving people a false sense of security by, oh, I do have it, so I don't have a high temperature, so I can take my mask off? Like, why, when you walk through they shouldn't have temperature checks. What they should really have is, before you walk in to Disney Springs or wherever, there should be signage all over the place saying, know the risk, know the risk. You know, it wouldn't be a very pleasant thing to look at, but you've got to understand, this is the mortality rate, that's the mortality rate in your age range. You know, the risk and how far a cough or a sneeze could spread. You know, we need to be showing that data to people before they walk into Disney Springs and City Walk and Universal Studios.
You know what's so funny? I was thinking about exactly that. I was thinking about making a series of infographics to demonstrate the distance at which you should be away from people, but using relatable theme park objects. And the reason I thought of this was because I recently ate my
churros.
I recently ate my height in churros, and I know that churros are. I know 5 churros is 6 feet approximately. So it's like the distance you should be 5 churros, and then it was like. I was thinking to Jack, I literally thought to myself for a while, I still maybe kind of am thinking, how can I make a 6-foot-long churro so I could do a video about the social distance churro? You know what I mean? The 6-foot churro and that Disney would sell to be like, just walk around and just keep people.
But don't eat the end of it, because by the time you get to the end of it, it's being breathed on by everybody.
What's like we need to do some like souvenir ears that have like 6-foot like tentacles that hang off of the.
Well, it's like people have been walking around those rubber rings or whatever, you know, they've been walking that kind of stuff. But I just feel like the temperature checks. I understand the reason why they're doing it, but it's also security theatre, and I just feel that, okay, the problem with going to the park at the moment, or any sort of park, is it's all well and good for the first day or two, or week or two, or month or two. You know, people will wear the mask, play the game because it's a novelty. You know, oh, I've got to wear the mask. Don't come near me, social distance. So, you know, and it's a bit of a novelty. It's been made a bit of a joke a little bit, and people are still adhering to it. But as we get further away from the lockdown, the more people are going to feel like it's not a threat anymore. And then the other perspective is that the further we get away from lockdown, people will break the rules. You know, people don't have the sustainability or the stamina to follow those new rules. They will just be broken because people will just be like, it's not really a thing. And that's the reason why I'm so against the temperature checks, because by scanning people's heads, you're telling them you're good to go. And you're not good to go. You're only good to go if you've had a test and found out you haven't got it.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one. Disney's in a very unenviable position right now.
An impossible position.
I feel for them a lot. Yeah, it's a very difficult one, and they don't need people like me really on the outside shouting about it. But I don't feel like I am. I feel like in my videos I'm just trying to provide analysis. You know, just like if they adopt any thoughts from my videos, then fantastic. I just want to keep people safe. That's all I care about.
Yeah, use your best judgment, and I'm providing you some additional information to inform that judgment.
I may not be right. I may not be right, but that's just based upon what I foresee, and that's just another opinion in the conversation. So,
well, I think that's how you present. I think that's your duty as a news person, to present fact as fact, and if you're going to present an opinion based on that fact, to say this is an opinion based on that fact, and not just present your opinion as fact. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is so. Once again, Dan, you've nailed it. I feel so strongly about this, and that is that.
I know you do. So do I.
It just annoys me when people, because I think the main problem, and I don't blame people for this issue. I think the people to blame are actually mainstream media. I'm 28. So I grew up a little bit pre 9/11. You're
33.
Roughly the same, 33. So you've grown up, obviously, knowing news pre 9/11. After 9/11, with the Iraq War and things like that, the news media just changed, and it became very op-ed, roundtable discussion. And you would tune into MSNBC or CNN or any news network, Fox News. And in the UK, we haven't really had much of a change in our news. But definitely in America, it's changed from, hello, good morning, or whatever, good evening, this is the nightly news, that, what's his name, Brokaw, or, I can't remember his name. What's his name?
Tom
I probably messed
Brokaw?
up the name.
Tom Brokaw?
No, that's it, yeah. Yeah, that's it, Brokaw. I don't know, he's not, I'm not American. But that...
That's fine.
But anyway, he it was news. News is news. And Lester Holt does the same sort of thing. But there's this kind of change of roundtable discussion and a mix between, we're all experts sat round a table, that makes it news. It doesn't make it news. It's still just experts round a table giving their opinions on or analysis on what we're talking about. News is news. News is facts. And
do you think that it's I'm curious though. Do you think that that's the fault though of those news people presented themselves? Because I mean, let's face it. If you deem yourself an expert in something, right? And then you go out on a limb to present yourself as an expert, and then people bounce news off of you, and then your opinion is then collected back as fact, as news. This is how.
Well, it's like Anthony Fauci, isn't it? Anthony Fauci. And he passed an opinion. He goes on a podcast. He passed an opinion. Then headlines the next day. Tony Fauci says this, and it's difficult because it's his opinion based right now on the data that he's seeing.
Right.
News is it.
But the news isn't based off of the data being seen right now. It's based off of the data everyone's familiar with, and so those things don't align. So he's always the target of things. But I'm asking though, do you think that it is? I think it's just easy for you to be a public figure and get the attention that you get, and then diverge from your original mission of delivering news and turn it into, this is my opinion on the news all the time, and then that opinion then becomes fact to your listeners. And I don't think that you do that. I think that you have maintained the news is the news. You sit there like a goddamn newsman. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have a glass table above your lap. You know what I mean? But that's what you're doing to me. You feel very much like that Tom Brokaw, the tapping of the paper. Good evening. You know what I mean? That's your vibe, and I think that's like a.
I used to get quite a lot more comments saying, Jack, we want to hear more from your opinion. And I do have opinions on the Disney news. And sometimes I sprinkle in a few of my opinions. Every once in a while I'll say my own personal speculation is blah, blah, blah. But I make sure it's given with that caveat. It's my own personal speculation. I don't just start diverging into my own personal speculation and mix it in with the news. You need a
personal speculation lower third that comes across the bottom of the screen. Warning, personal speculation.
Opinions are like, officers, aren't they?
And
everyone's got one. That's a polite way of saying it. But, and maybe that could be the icon that flashes across the bottom.
Right.
Everyone's got one. But, I just feel that I have very strong opinions on certain Disney news topics. Some Disney news topics I'm accepting. I'm like, oh, great. I don't really have much more to say about this. I'm not going to blow it up into a bigger story than it actually is. There's a new piece of concept art. I like it. Or whatever. I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to manufacture outrage towards something which, I'm okay with. And oftentimes I'm pretty happy with Disney's decisions. Recently, I haven't been very happy with them, and I've tried presenting, here's the policy that they're enacting, and here's how I would fix it, and here's how I would improve upon it. Always trying to maintain that positivity, but still, this is how I would personally improve. But I just feel like there's a lot of, I don't know why people feel necessary to mix personal opinion so much with the news. Like you say, it's that cult of personality thing. It's that, they're coming to watch me. And I feel that, if I stop doing my show, maybe someone else could take over. I don't know if it would have the same resonance. People are connected to a face. There's a reason why I put myself on camera right at the beginning, because I knew that some people would hate this face and some people would be okay with it, and people would like my voice or not like my voice. And it's like, Kevin at Defunctland, he's never shown his face on a video, and if he showed his face tomorrow on a video, people will be like, oh, you don't look like how I imagined you to, it's that idea. But by not showing your face, you're keeping that ambiguity, that you've removed another touch point where people can dislike you for it. So it's very smart what Kevin's done, because you either like his voiceover work or you don't. It's not like I like his voiceover work or I don't, and I don't like his face and I don't. It's removing another element. So, I don't know. I've gone off topic a little bit, but
no, you make me think about that all the time, because I've been thinking about putting my face into my videos more, because I think that there are, particularly with me, and I guess I don't know how today on Twitter I was described as a lovable dick, and I was like, that works for me.
You're not that lovable. No, I'm joking. No. I don't see it as a dick. I don't see it as a dick whatsoever.
But I think that those moments where I'm just laughing and I'm having a good time, if I'm recording myself and I'm already breaking the video to begin with to have those moments, why not have me occasionally jump in there? And I think that will help sell more of who I am. But other than that, I don't think that, but I think that it's important to see you with this. I think it's important to see the face who's delivering the news. You know what I mean? And you have to have that trustworthy, you say
that. And I played around a lot more last year with the idea that trying to remove myself from the news a little bit more. And those videos did do slightly better, if I'm being honest. Did they? The videos where there was strict voiceover, they did do better. And it, like I said, it's removing another touch point for people to dislike, because people aren't going to like this. People, some people are going to be like, I don't mind looking at his face, and people are like, oh, stop moving your hands. I get that a lot. Stop moving your hands. I have a rule for you,
Jack. If it's not speculative opinion, you don't show yourself. But the only time you do show yourself is when you're expressing your opinion. Then otherwise it's a voiceover, because then sometimes news is just news. Sometimes you don't need to give you don't need to inject your opinion. Sometimes you're going to just be the newsman. You know what I mean? And just give news, and then you're never seen in those things. But the things that are more thought provoking, and the things that you want to have discussion about, things you want to get responses for, that's
it's a different type of video.
Yeah. That's where. Well, I mean, and if you ever drop yourself into anytime you're going to offer your opinion, it's you. But then otherwise.
I just kind of wish you'd have told me that 3 years ago, because it's too late now. People know the face behind it, so it's like it's a bit. There's still
new people to be found. There's still new people to be found.
I don't know if there's that many more people to be found, Dan. To be honest, my it's reached 136,000. I'm like, it's not gonna. It'll get maybe to 150 at a slow crawl, or maybe 200 eventually, but. It's never going to get to Defunctland numbers or TPM's numbers, because it is what it is. I mean, the only way I could possibly get there is if I create more evergreen content. My videos are, there for the moment.
But you understand that, though, and that's important, because a lot of people don't. A lot of people are in your position and don't understand that their content has a shelf life if it's not evergreen. And you get that, and you know the solution already. You already know the solution. I could just do more stuff, and you're already doing that stuff, but for your patrons. And you know what I mean? Like you're already making that great legacy. I don't know where I was when everyone started calling it evergreen. I called it legacy content, but I guess evergreen is fine too.
I picked that up from Rob. Rob Plays, you know, he said he called it evergreen.
He went to marketing school.
Evergreen? What's that mean, Rob? And he's like,
yeah.
I was like, what does that mean? And he's like, it's content that lasts for longer because it's like an evergreen tree. I'm like, I get it now. Yeah. But so the penny was slow to drop with me as well. I was like, why are people calling it that?
But I think that you're also offering a unique and specific service, because at a certain point, the content that you make is going to come around the bend, and you're going to be able to start to, if not you, others will start to dive into your archive of things. Think about right now those abandoned projects like Yesterland or whatever, you know, those things that like exist but aren't like the thing that they're still working on anymore, but they're the thing that documented that thing that they loved. For that, you're going to be a section in like 5-10 years when someone's coming back. An archive
for it, a news archive.
And so your legacy will persist as you're off doing something else. If it's not this, maybe you're still doing this, but in different ways, in different things. It's just all stepping stones, dude. This might be. You might look back at this. You might look back at DSNY as your foot handle. You know what I mean? You're like, I spent a couple of years trying to sell that. It didn't work. And now I have $6 billion.
Yeah. I always want my latest thing. I always hope that DSNY is my Oswald. You know, I kind of hope it's my first thing in many ways. You know, I got a bit of success with it because that's where you got to look at it. And, you know, I was asked, I did, I don't know, do you know Isaac Carlson, What's So Videos? Mm-hmm. He did a podcast, and he, what's it called? I'm missing the name of it. But he's done it on his alternative channel, Isaac's What's So Videos channel. If you go over there and check it out. And he asked me halfway through the interview, he was like, the podcast, and he was like, what is it? Do you see yourself doing this in 5 years? Where's it going? And I just said to him, I said, to be honest, no, not really. And he's like, whoa, I didn't expect you to say that. You know, that's an unusual answer. Most people are like, I'm going to get myself a team. I'm going to grow this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I'm like, well, realistically, do I want to be in my 30s doing the same thing I did back when I started doing it when I was 25? You know, do I want to be 35, 10 years later, still talking about Disney news? It's a big chunk of your life. And I feel like, you know, you got to do career progression. Even if you are working for yourself and you're self-employed, you still got to progress. And there's some people that would be quite happy to do what I do for the rest of their lives. And all to them. I don't see any problem with that. I think it's fantastic. But for me, I want new challenges, new mountains to climb. And eventually, I kind of set a milestone for myself. You know, I want to see Walt Disney World's 50th. I want to do maybe the coverage leading up to the 100th anniversary in 2023. And then after that, I'm going to reassess. I'm going to be like, okay, 2023, I've done this for, you know, going on 6 years by that point. I'm going to be like, okay, I'm ready to maybe move on to do something else. And whatever happens with my channel then, I might give it to someone else, I don't know. So.
No.
Let me just check my AirPod level. I just want to double check because I just heard it make a noise at me. Right?
It's okay, we've done an hour.
Fine, we're good. Yeah.
We did an hour, man. And we left on such a, we can't leave on such a somber note though. We've got to talk about, talk about something. Got to talk about something more. I think about that too. I think that I am going to hone the idea of what Disney Dan is into more of a Distory channel specifically. I think this podcast that we're recording right now is going to be going on I'm going to just start a podcast channel that is going to be for that Imagineering thing we were doing with Rob. It's just going to be for these long form kind of conversations, for that to live there, because that's how YouTube likes it. It likes to have its things grouped together, right? Yeah. But I think that in some capacity, I'm going to continue to make silly stuff that I love to make, and I think that some of it will pick up and some of it will do okay and some of it won't. You wanna play, don't you? You wanna like have that sandbox to play in, and that's the reason why I want to change the name to DSNY Network, because I'm like, I've thought of, I'll tell you the idea. So like the argument for is going to be my new op-ed series. So I don't want to just call it DSNY discussion or DSNY opinion, because I feel it's very bland of a name. So I'm like,
I'm going to give the argument for, and it's going to be the argument for whatever I think needs an argument. Because I feel like that's more provocative from the get-go. You're like, oh, I know this is going to be opinion because it's an argument. So there's no, it's no mask of news there. I'm going to change up the thumbnail. It's going to look different. It's going to have a different feel. They're going to have like different intros to it. I'm going to have different logo even, and all that sort of stuff. But I'm going to build that under the DSNY network name. But like you say, it's a bit difficult because should that content live on its own channel called The Argument For? Or should it live on the DSNY Newscast network? Because like I feel that already I've done some op-ed pieces, like I did one on Wally and Walt Disney World. I've got a lot of ideas for like, Sierra, my girlfriend, I walk around parts of it and she goes, just stop armchair imagineering, just stop it. Just stop telling me how you'd make things better or how you would fix it.
Yeah.
Do me a favor, go become the next Walt, and then I'll listen to you. Go actually do it.
Start eating hot dogs, man. Start eating hot dogs. I'm reading a book called Eat Like Walt, and apparently all that man consumed was hot dogs. It's all he ate.
Yeah, no, can of hot dogs. He used to...
He just loved hot dogs. It's just incredible. There's so many pictures of him just holding hot dogs. He just was. If it wasn't a cigarette in his hand, it was a hot dog. It turns out it's incredible.
When they went through and removed all the cigarettes from his hand.
Yeah, they were removing hot dogs from his other hand.
They should have put a hot dog in there instead. So Walt's just casually holding a hot dog. He's ready to eat a hot dog again.
That's the cover story. Maybe that's the cover story. That's all these photos. He was originally holding cigars and cigarettes. They just put.
Yeah. he's pointing with two fingers of a hot dog, like.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Casey's corner. No. I love hot dogs from that standpoint.
What are you gonna eat? What are you gonna eat when you get back to the parks?
Well, you see, I'm not a big foodie. Like when it comes
I know you're not, but like, what is it? Like, what is your? What are you gonna experience? What's your thing? That's kind of has like that little itch on the in the back of your head. It's like I could do that if I could do this safely, or the first chance I get to do this, I'm gonna do this, whatever it is.
The first Disney park thing I'm gonna do is the only thing I really want to do right now when I'm inside a Disney park, I don't actually care about any of the rides or anything like that. I just care about going in there and sitting on a bench and just soaking in that atmosphere as much as possible, and and just look at the sky and look at all of the different things going on and just soak in that happiness and that normality.
Man, why aren't you spending more time on the train at the Magic Kingdom? They don't have it. That's what I love to do.
Yeah.
I go to Disneyland, man. I'll get on that train. When it gets to New Orleans Square, I'll hop off. I'll get a mint julep and some beignets, and I'll jump back on, and I'll just kind of like snack on them.
I love that train as well. Yeah, I did that train. We didn't do it last time because
it's just a moving bench, essentially. That's all it's just a bunch of moving benches.
Yeah, no, it is. And I just like to when I go to Disney parks, when I go there to record and stuff, I don't actually do a lot of rides.
Me either.
I do love the rides. I love the rides, but like I'll be content because obviously living in Orlando, part of my year and part of my life. When I'm out there, me and Sierra, we go to the parks in the evening or whatever, and we do 2-3 rides. Late at night around 7 to 8. Low crowds. Hop on Flight of Passage. Hop on this. Hop on that. And it's just like it's a very chilled atmosphere. And I tried to do the Walt Disney World, go vacation with when I first met you, actually. And I just didn't enjoy it. It's just, being in the parks all day is something which gets to me now, because...
Well, the annual pass removes that urgency. The annual pass removes that.
I love it. I love the relaxed atmosphere of it. And
it's the best.
We used to go to Disneyland Paris all the time. And when I was younger, my parents were always trying to exit the park to go to this. They have a place called King Ludwig's. It was a beer place outside in their downtown Disney area, and it's a fantastic place. But I was like, why you want to go to the beer place? You've got Disneyland just there. Get back in the parks. Come on, let's go. And now I understand, going there as an adult, I went there by myself and stuff. I was like, I'm going to go to King Ludwig's and I'm going to have a beer. Because it's better to go back into a Disney park once you've had a steiner of Bavarian beer. It's nice. It's a relaxed atmosphere. It's like, these things will still be here next year. hopefully, as long as it's not Universe of Energy or a Great Movie Ride. But it'll be here next year.
Right.
But, I just feel like that relaxed pace is what I wish I could soak in right now, that just the atmosphere itself. I don't care about the food. Like the Rice Krispies I quite like. I enjoy a good Casey's Corner hot dog. Sierra took me to Ohana for the first time. I've never been to any one of those. We didn't do a lot of dining. When we used to go to Walt Disney World, my family, we were the family that went around Walt Disney World with bread rolls in our rucksack, in our backpack. My mum would, there was 4 mouths to feed, and she would butter the rolls with ham and cheese, and at the breakfast table, and be like,
"So you're related to that hot dog picture from Disney Springs?"
yeah, I am. Yeah, and we would have a proper meal. It'd be a quick service meal, but we would have bread roll halfway through the day to try and keep the kids happy. That kind of thing. So like, I've always grown up not caring too much about the food inside Walt Disney World. It's the reason why I don't really cover the food and merchandise too much on DSNY Newscast, because it just doesn't interest me. I like the Ronto wrap and stuff like that, but like it doesn't. I feel like it's very overpriced food. Obviously, it is, and you can probably get better food elsewhere. I do enjoy the drinks, like a margarita at an Epcot or something like that, but like, I don't really care too much for like the sit down table service stuff too much. I don't know.
So where do you like to sit?
Like that.
Where do you like to sit? Because I'm right there with you. When I get back in the parks, I just want to sit. I just want to hang out in the parks, just take a stroll.
I think,
you know what I mean? Like,
I think it depends on the park, but like above the Main Street station, not above it, near Main Street station, just enjoying the view down Main Street, just down there. I don't want to be with people around me, but I do want to see what's going on and just enjoy the atmosphere of that, the announcements and things like that. When it comes to Epcot, I always like to walk on over to UK Pavilion and just hang around there. I know it's just really weird because obviously but
it's fine, dude.
I oddly enjoy my little pavilion over there, and bit of home when you're feeling a little homesick. You know what? It's
whenever I'm in Orlando, there's this gas station called a Wawa. And they're from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I love Wawa.
That's from up where I'm from, in New Jersey and PA. Yeah. And so I feel like it's like my little embassy, right? Like when I'm down in Orlando, I can go to Wawa and I'm safe. And it's comforting and everything's kind of the same, but not. And I get it.
Wawa
I understand.
Is amazing. I love Wawa. It's been bought out by Publix.
Has it?
Yeah, it was the group that owned Publix bought out Wawa, and where my my apartment is in Orlando, we've got a Publix and we've got a Wawa.
Wow!
And so like they're now connected.
When did that happen, Jack?
The buyout was like 2 weeks into the pandemic, like end of March, early April. They bought when the stock was lower for Wawa. They decided to buy them. So they're stable. Wawa's not going anywhere. They're owned by Publix. But the thing is, like, I love Panda Express. I know it's so strange. Like, Panda Express is one of my favorite things.
That's got to be a British thing, right? That has to be.
I love it.
That now suddenly I understand why Panda Express exists, because Chinese food in general, Jack, is a bastardization of Chinese culture.
Yeah, of course.
Period.
Yeah.
And these people are like making. And it's these families from China, right? It's these Chinese immigrant families, second, third generation, first generations that are running these places, making food, but making it the way we will eat it, right? So they're already just the
orange chicken. Like we've got Chinese takeaways in our country, and we have like beef chow mein and stuff like that, and it's good, but it's good. But like the orange chicken or the honey nut shrimp, walnut shrimp.
So what you're saying is you love how America has taken Chinese food and made it into candy, and then you're allowed to eat bowls of candy with the excuse of eating Chinese food. Guys, I love the honey. I love the honey, and I love the orange, and I love the the dipping sauces.
The one thing which I really miss out on when I'm in America is our British chocolate, our candy. And it drives me, like, a lot of people love the sweet treats in Disney, the popcorn and the Rice Krispie treats, which I like, and the Mickey bars, but, like, it's nothing compared to our chocolate. I feel like we've got the best chocolate in the world in the UK.
Do you know why America has bad... Do you know why we have bad chocolate? Do you know why our chocolate's bad? I can tell you why.
Yeah, it's too much sugar in it.
It goes deeper than that, man. Are you ready for this?
Go on.
Because I live in Pennsylvania, and so I'm right down the street from Hershey Park, right? And so Hershey is who did this. I believe it was during World War II. There was a massive surplus of milk that then soured, and then they had to unload massive amounts of the sour milk. They were constantly unloading sour milk. They were just pouring it down the drains everywhere, right? And so Milton Hershey got this crazy idea. I don't know the details behind it. Look, we can Google it. We can figure it out. The moral of the story is that in the sour milk was this thing called butyric acid, right? And so he could take he could add butyric acid to the spoiled whey and then kind of prolong the life of it to process it into chocolate, because it wasn't going to be like a milk product like ice cream or like, a sour cream or something. It was going to be processed milk. So it was soured, and it was all like, it was kind of like this butyric acid kind of like soured milk taste. And then they processed milk with it. And so the byproduct of that was he suddenly had a huge costly ingredient gone, because people are just constantly trying to get rid of the soured milk.
So they didn't have very good milk in the chocolate. Is that what you're trying to say?
Right, because it made chocolate super cheap. It made it affordable for everyone during the Depression.
Well, that's actually interesting. We're completely in the ADD, podcast way. We're diverging a lot. But the Cadbury's chocolate, which is now owned by Kraft, which is an American company, the Cadbury's chocolate that you can buy, which is obviously from the UK, it's made in the one that's bought in America, made in America. The actual difference is that our Cadbury's chocolate has a lot more milk in it, but good milk, like proper milk in it. So it's milky in its taste. Whereas the one in America, it's obviously got the worst type of milk in it.
Yeah.
But also it's to make up for that ratio, they've overdone the sugar.
Yep.
So they put way too much sugar in the chocolate, and it gives it kind of a bitterer taste. It's not nearly as smooth.
Yeah. And so that's why they added more sugar to Hershey, because the chocolate tasted bitter. And so if you take a couple Hershey Kisses, American Hershey Kisses, just let them melt in your mouth, and then kind of just like swallow them like kind of half melted. You'll feel the acidy tingle in your throat that you feel after you throw up. I know
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Like after you vomit, because it's that acid. It's like that.
Yeah, it's like I know exactly what you're talking about. I've tried enough American chocolates to know that. And when I go off to America, I always go there with suitcases full of chocolate.
Yes, dude. Why am I not getting any of this chocolate, man?
I'm going to find a photo for you. I'm going to find a photo right now. This is me before I travel to... This is me last February, I think. Wait, let me find...
I'm not, just to clarify to the listeners, not all chocolate's made like that, but the idea of if it wasn't that, it's also a lot of wax is now put into chocolate. A lot of like oils are put into it to bulk it up, to make it more.
I don't know if I'm going to find a photo.
To give it the illusion of being tempered so that it snaps and whatnot, but it's not really. So. Yeah. Anyway, that's incredible.
I'm looking to make the move to America, and it's costly and it's expensive. So that's one thing which, the chocolate idea is something which I'm going to have to get. But
well, I mean, there's what you could get.
There's worse things to worry about, but
you could get in. Most places you can get. Like I think a Toblerone's safe, right? Toblerones are still made in like by the Dutch or whoever make Toblerones.
I'm not a massive fan of Toblerone, to be honest.
Why? It's like it's like the fancy Butterfinger, man. It's like the
nah. I love Reese's. I love peanut butter cups. I love those. And
who doesn't?
And recently, I bought tons and tons of chocolate. I spent £100 on a wholesale website of chocolate during the pandemic, because I was like, I can't go to the supermarket to go buy chocolate anymore. So, because obviously I'm trying to...
What do you eat?
Time I need chocolate.
So everyone can eat chocolate, but then some people will take their chocolate and they'll dip it into something, or they'll add it on. Like you don't do like a chocolate peanut butter. You don't do like a chocolate like you don't like a s'more or like chocolate marshmallow.
No. You don't mess around with the chocolate. You
do you keep semi-sweet? Do you go dark? Do you go milk? What's your?
I like some white chocolate, but I usually
white chocolate's not chocolate, bro. It's made out of the oil byproduct of making chocolate.
Yeah, white chocolate, dark chocolate I don't mind, but milk chocolate's the main one. But we have like fruit and nut chocolate. We have
do you ever salt your chocolate?
Huh?
Do you ever salt your chocolate?
No, but we had popping candy chocolate.
Okay.
And you bite into it, and it's
Pop
got
Rock chocolate.
And
Do you have Pop Rocks in the UK?
We do, yeah, and it's some Cadbury's make, and it's popping candy. It's gummy ball bits in it, and it's like you bite into it, and it's amazing.
It sounds dreadful.
It came out as a you know the Willy Wonka movie. It came out in association with that as like a Willy Wonka creation, and then everybody in Britain were like, this tastes amazing, and so Cadbury's were like, okay, well, we'll make it a normal thing, and it became a normal thing. I love it. It's incredible, and I buy loads of bars of that, and I bring it to America. I actually was stopped in Philadelphia airport going through the check, and I had, you know, like one of those vacuum pack seal things. I shoved all my chocolate in one of those and vacuum packed it.
Oh, I bet that looked great on the X-ray.
I know, they took it out, and it was just like this slab of chocolate. It was like huge brick of chocolate. And they were like, what's this? I was like, I think I actually used the excuse. I was like, I'm bringing it for friends. They all really love the chocolate, so it's just gifts to give out. Because I didn't want to look like somebody who hoards chocolate.
Well, no one would believe you looking at you that you eat that much chocolate. That one man can consume that much chocolate.
Yeah, exactly. So. But I do.
You could just be like, all these teeth are fake. Trust me. I've had so many cavities.
That one is fake. That one is fake. For a different
Do you have
reason.
a fake tooth?
Yeah, that one that's fake.
Is it really?
Yeah, out of there. And the reason for it is because when we were kids, me and my brother were playing on this pebble beach in France. And, I think it's France. And we were throwing stones, skimming them into the ocean. And then, two young kids, we started skimming them at each other's feet. And then we skimmed them a bit higher. And before you know it, we're just throwing rocks the other side of at each other. One hit me in the tooth, and I lost half a tooth, and it just decayed from there. And it went.
Oh man!
So
is that is that the big? Is this your first time revealing that? Is that, or do the Waltoneers know?
I don't think I've ever mentioned it. No, that's the first time I mentioned that.
You got a great smile, man. I never would have called it. That's incredible.
No, it's a fake tooth. But
do you have to watch out and not drink grape juice and stuff?
No, it's fine. Biting into apples, it's absolutely fine. I've had it for years. I love going to the dentist. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. I've got a lot of fillings, and that's probably from me eating too much chocolate when I was younger. But it's not going to stop me. I'm hoping that by the time I need to replace all the teeth, they'll be able to grow new teeth in my mouth.
Dude, that's
we'll get to that stem cell.
Oh my god! I go into that's my whole life. That's the one life gamble I'm making.
Hoping.
I'm like. Look, I'll compromise. I got a water pick. I can't stand flossing because my teeth are all so darn close and my fingers are so darn fat.
I've got the same problem. Yeah.
And so I use a water pick, but I'm like, listen, I'm just gonna ride this wave. I know that we're gonna get
electric. Do you use electric toothbrush or not?
I don't. I hand toothbrush it.
I'm telling you right now, that's not. You get an electric toothbrush, and it's the way to go. I spend around 2 minutes using an electric toothbrush, and
this is. Listen, if you're gonna take advice from anyone, take advice from somebody with a mouthful of cavities and one missing tooth. This is the toothbrush you need.
I'm the person to talk about good dental hygiene.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible.
It's like when you'd want advice, not the perils of accidentally getting near a saw from an amputee, wouldn't you?
I do.
I lost my arm to this saw, so I don't get near it. Yeah.
This is the advice from a man full of regret. All right, you regret not having an electric toothbrush earlier. Thanks for joining me on my ADD podcast, Jack.
That's fine. Anytime. We'll go off in different directions anytime. I don't mind.
You're great. It's late, right? It's 5 hours difference.
It's 11:26. Yeah. It's not too bad, but
it's murderous. It's murderous out there in the UK.
Sometimes I'll be editing till 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. Get the video out that late, and then I'll have to go to bed at 2 in the morning. And
do you find how long does it take you to get back into it? how long does it take you to get back into a sleep schedule after, like, because I know you have to do like 50-50, right? It's got to be like 51-49 at the very least. You have to be home.
What do you mean?
More, isn't it? Is that how it works?
It's not difficult actually. No, because I very early on in the newscast, like I was working late hours UK, so I'm basically working American hours. Yeah. And I still maintain that because now I'm self-employed. I can wake up later, but then again, I'm going to be working later.
For a very long time, I kept saying to myself, man, I wish I lived in California because then I would just be a normal person. Because my time schedule is like 3 hours off. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to bed around midnight, 1 o'clock, and I feel like I should be going to bed, but like I can't. It's just like there's things to be done. I got to be up.
Yeah.
You know.
It is weird. I find it's not too much of an issue actually, the time difference. When I just find it difficult because when I book a flight, each video I do is like a 2-day process. So if I book a flight for midweek, because they're cheaper to book midweek, whether I book it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it doesn't matter because I'm not going to be able to get a video out on the second part of the week or first part of the week because I don't have a prep ready. I can't get that much ready in advance. And so it's very difficult, but that's the only difficulty with a time zone difference. Sometimes it's a bit of a burden because like other people they're in the time zone. So like news breaks and they're like, I go to bed, I'm like, I'll cover this in the morning. And lo and behold, they've worked throughout the night. And I don't want to work till 3 a.m.
That's just the game, though. That's just the game. Sometimes there are just as many moments that they have that you catch it.
Well, yeah. Sometimes, it will break early in the morning. Sometimes, like Disneyland Paris news or something like that will happen, and it's very early on in the day. And for me, I'm already up, and most people in Orlando aren't even up yet. It's D23 is the hardest one because it's an 8-hour time, 7-hour time difference, isn't it? I think 7 or 8 hour time difference between here and California. And so like for that weekend, I just basically say to myself, I'm not sleeping basically. I'll sleep whenever I can. If I can get 2 hours sleep here and there, I will. Last year it really annoyed me because Disney kind of like teased that big announcement.
Yeah,
and
I know.
Remember that big announcement that turned out to be just a documentary series? And they did that, and then I was like, I found out that I was very annoyed because I stayed up till like 3 a.m. in the morning to like find out that news, and then I was just very annoyed with Disney that day. I even said it in the video, but yeah. It was. I haven't you were
even.
There.
You know
you
what?
Were there for
I'm so hurt by the whole thing that I haven't even watched it.
That's One day at Disney, I'm
casual. I'm like 4 degrees of Kevin Bacon away from Kate, the girl the one who's in the Nemo puppet, who also plays Winifred in in Hocus Pocus Spectacular. I'm friends with a guy who used to date her, who, in fact, this will be a fun story. Maybe not. Maybe you'll hate me. Dave, don't hate me. I think that this was very endearing, and I think it was great. Are you familiar with Tosh, the comedian Tosh? He has a show on Comedy Central called Tosh.0.
I've heard him.
There's this thing he does called Web Redemption, where people who have made slight fools of themselves on the internet get a chance to kind of be like, I know you laughed at me, but I'm going to be more ridiculous now, and it's fun. It's really fun. If you have if I did something ridiculous on the internet, I would 100% seize the moment to get that platform to be like, yeah, I know I'm silly. It's okay. Let's all laugh together. Because why not? At least that's who I am. Not everyone's like that, but anyway, he did this incredible sappy song and put it on YouTube for her that blew up on like cringe on Reddit or something like that. People were just like, ugh. And it was, and so Tosh picked it up and pulled him on, and they had like a fake proposal and everything. I don't know. It happened years ago. It's so funny now that she's like,
that's the girl.
That's the girl. That's the girl.
That's the girl. No, it's Double Rainbow guy. He's just died from coronavirus. Didn't he die from it? Was it coronavirus? I'm pretty sure it was. Or he's just died. But it's just sad to hear that he's.
I'm not laughing about that. I just loved how casually you're like.
I'm saying like he was such an internet. No, I'm just saying that from your like things blow up and go silly.
I know.
And why has he not been made more of a news story?
You know what? They did. Here in America, he's been covered. I think that they did a couple late night shows have done things for him and stuff. Yeah, he's been honored.
Good.
He's been honored.
Good. Okay.
His legacy will forever live on.
That's good.
Until we all forget about the things that have happened this decade, you know what I mean, or this century.
Nah, we're living through historic times right now. Like,
do you think that the textbook
in 100
about the
years'
coronavirus,
time, kids will be watching this podcast in a history class?
Yeah. You know what? They might. Who knows? Because by that point, we'll just be robots, right? And they'll just be like, absorb this disk of all information. And this conversation will be that, in that disk, right? I mean, it's gotta.
That DSNY guy, you know, he went on to become world leader. And in the pandemic, leading the robot army, you know.
23 cavities and 1 fake tooth. I can't believe it. Jack, you're one of my favorite people. I really appreciate you joining me to talk.
I've really enjoyed this. It's been fantastic. It's been great. Thanks for having me
have a wonderful evening. Don't work so hard.
Will do.
Take it easy.
Yeah,
Thanks for showing me what the other side of that room looked like. I really appreciate it. No one else gets to see, but I got to see what the other side.
I've shown it on my personal channel before. I did like a behind the scenes, so people can go and watch that.
Okay.
It's not changed too much, but yeah.
Ooh,
I'm enjoying the quarantina. It's good.
Yeah.
I'm surprised no one's named, like the cantina, like the Ogre's Cantina.
Oh, you're calling it the quarantina,
No one's done a quarantina. Yeah, no one's done a quarantina yet.
I think that people aren't in any sense, in any kind of mood to make fun of it, but they will be soon. It just takes time.
People you can make fun of a quarantine. You can make fun of a quarantine.
But people aren't, you can. You can make fun of it.
Quarantine's fine.
Are people going to have that kind of, like where you'll be like, I'm surprised this didn't take this. The next quarantine, I bet people name it. I bet that we start naming them. Yeah. Like once it becomes more regular, like hurricanes, we'll start to name them.
Like Sharknado 2, the whatever it is. I don't know.
I would love
the Cornado 2.
I would love if the quarantine names were actually written by the people who wrote the Sharknado series, because why not? Let's just double down on that joke.
We should name them after the leaders who maybe botched the effort. Like this first one's Quarantine Trump, and the second one's Quarantine Pence. Or I don't know. Name them after the leaders who are leading the quarantine effort. I don't know.
I was saying I had a catchphrase for it that I was just using. I was just using for myself. I said, let's quarantine, let's social distance like it's COVID-1999. That was my first one, and now my new one is, if you got a fever, you better leave her. So that's my current catchphrase. That's my current. All right. Good night, Jack.
All right. Okay. See you guys. Bye.